Welcome to the Terrible Podcast with your hosts from SteelersDepot.com, where you can find all your latest and greatest Steelers news. It's Dave Bryan and Alex Kozora, always lit, talking Steelers. And now, here's Dave and Alex.
Welcome to the Terrible Podcast, Season 15, Episode 9. He's Dave Bryan. I'm Alex Kozora, SteelersDepot.com. Thanks for being back with us here this Monday, Steelers Nation. Dave, a long wait to get through the offseason, the start of training camp, but finally have our first football game of 2024 to discuss. The Pittsburgh Steelers preseason opener on Friday night. Not the cleanest game overall, nor was it a victory for Pittsburgh, losing to the Houston Texans 20-12, but football on the field for all of us to watch and enjoy and evaluate and analyze. So it's great to be back with you, Dave, talking about some in-stadium real football action.
Yep, sure is. Season's over, right?
To some fans I saw on Twitter, yes, but to most we're calm.
Man, how good was it to have that game to not only watch live, I was able to rewatch it later Friday night. It took a little while. Obviously got some all 22 up on the NFL.com site. It's a pain to try to go through it that way, but I got a lot digested that way. And then we got the fuller version of it in all angles later this afternoon. Was able to go through some of that. We got quite a bit to talk about today, don't we?
We do. Going to be a long show diving into this one. I know you and I, and especially myself, because I've been out of training camp today, have not gotten to go through all of the all 22. I'm a little bit behind on that, but talk about my initial impressions watching it live, watching the game back on the TV tape, and some of the all 22 so far. But before we do that, before we get into the actual game itself, Dave, let's go through the housekeeping. And there is a lot of housekeeping to attend to. We'll kind of start here with the most major and notable moves before we talk about some of the injuries. Most notable one right now is Markus Golden. We wondered last week, I saw Golden out there for, I think, the Wednesday practice, but he was not practicing, and I did not see him Thursday at all. I kind of wondered where he was at, and he's gone. He has retired. The team placed him on the reserve retired list, and so his second stint with Pittsburgh lasted about a week, signed on August 1st, went through a handful of practices, and apparently decided, I'm going to retire instead. So don't know exactly why. Don't know if he just evaluated his own game or didn't have his heart in it or didn't think he was going to make the 53-man roster. But Markus Golden, a great career, a long career, mostly the Arizona Cardinals, now officially retired.
Yeah, it was a little bit shocking, but as you said, you didn't spot him out there, and I'd been sitting here waiting. Why hadn't the contract info come in? The contract info never surfaced, and even though I think it was going to be a veteran benefit contract, in through the outdoor, right? And we talked a lot about what that may or may not have meant to the depth chart and how you could do worse for a fourth outside linebacker like Markus Golden, and what it may or may not mean for a guy like Jeremiah Moon or Kyron Johnson. And now it doesn't matter at this point. It was all just wasted airtime because he's out the door now. Obviously, it opens up, reopens, that talk of who's going to ultimately make this roster as the fourth outside linebacker. But I was a bit shocked. I mean, not floored by him. And the guy is older, and he was unsigned for all this time and all like that. Obviously, up there in age, and I guess it's just his heart and his will wasn't in it. And I think Mike Tomlin, in so many words, said if you're not all in on this, it probably is better to retire. So that's that.
It's a hard game to be 1 foot into and really have the success that players would want to have. It's funny, Golden, right after he signed, he had said that he felt a little retired this offseason, a free agent this entire spring and into the summer, and was home and enjoyed spending time with his kids. And so maybe that was the reason. I also think, he could have made the 53, but there was no clear path. There would have been stiff competition there. He was really brought in because injury struck, and he was a known guy who could come in right away and help preserve some of that competition with Moon and Kyron Johnson as well. So maybe he didn't realize exactly what he was getting into in a sense whenever he signed and then got here, saw the competition, saw his standing and said, it's maybe not worth it for me to go through a whole camp to have a decent chance of being cut by the time this thing wraps up.
Yeah, and as we mentioned, he only played like 200 something defensive snaps, and obviously with Nick Herbig, he's supposed to take another step this year. Probably, was hard pressed if he made the roster to get playing time. Probably faced the inactive list quite possibly, depending on how weekly things went. So, all right, that's that.
All right, some good news, though, from the injury standpoint. Pittsburgh activating 2 of their 3 players who began training camp on injured lists. That is Cordero Patterson. He has been activated off of the NFI list due to a hamstring injury he suffered before training camp began. And then Dean Lowry is off of the active PUP list that we presume from the pec injury he suffered that ended his season last year. He returned to practice today alongside Patterson. Those guys did not work in full. They were limited, going through individual drills, doing some conditioning work on the side as they ramp up, but it's good to get those guys in uniform and officially on the field.
Absolutely. And eagle eye on you throughout this process, watching them slowly ramp up. You thought there was a good chance that both of them would be back starting this week, and that is indeed the case. And now we'll sit and see if they can get enough work in between now and Friday for the second preseason game against the Bills. I'll hold my breath a little bit. I think Cordell Patterson obviously has a better chance than Lowry, but we could see both of them. We could see neither of them, but I think at worst you should be able to see both those guys under the lights for the third and final preseason game.
We'll leave the light on for him, as Mike Tomlin likes to say, for this Saturday. It's probably a toss-up leaning towards no for those guys playing in this one, but the light will remain on. Pittsburgh making a flurry of moves on Sunday coming off their game, although some of this related to some injuries that occurred prior to their Texans preseason opener. Pittsburgh waiving linebacker Easton Gibbs, who signed just last week, played a couple of snaps against Houston. He's out the door. And then unfortunately, Braden Fehoko is now on injured reserve after suffering a shoulder or left arm or left shoulder injury during practice. I believe that was Wednesday, and didn't really get any clarification. Very few outlets reporting that as it happened, but we spotted Fehoko on the sideline on the bench one day midway through a practice, and now he is on IR. And even though there has been a change in the IR rules, because Fehoko has been placed on IR before final cutdowns, he is not going to be eligible to return later this season. He could, in theory, come back if they release him with an injury settlement, and then you wait the period. But unfortunate for Fehoko, is not going to make the 53, but a good run stuffing nose tackle, could have been on the practice squad where he was for most of last year. So that's just unfortunate news for him.
Absolutely, it is, and obviously opens up talk of Willington Prevlion, and who's going to be that practice squad plugger in the middle there for this team. So unfortunate for him. I was looking forward to maybe seeing him get some snaps throughout the preseason here, but that obviously won't happen. As you said, the only way he's going to make it back to an active roster or even a practice squad, he would have to come off of reserve injured list and effectively be released from that. So don't know the seriousness of that. I think he tweeted something out earlier today once the official announcement. I think he's just working on getting healthy now. So definitely unfortunate news for him.
And I should mention this, Dave and I are recording this episode Sunday night around 9:30 p.m. Eastern time, because there's the training camp practice Monday morning. And so I'll be off the camp by the time people listen to this. So if any breaking news occurs, or just for context, we are recording this Sunday night. So with those roster spots opening up with Gibbs and Fehoko, Pittsburgh signing a pair of players they've worked out the last couple of weeks. Marquise Spencer, a defensive lineman. He worked in the team period today, will take Fajoko's spot, and linebacker Luquay Washington will replace Easton Gibbs. Washington, athletic from Central Connecticut State, spent time with the Kansas City Chiefs. Pittsburgh still has one open roster spot available with Golden's retirement, and I assume with Troy Fautanu's injury, they worked out a couple of tackles today. I imagine we're going to get an extra tackle in camp tomorrow.
Yeah, why don't you expound a little bit on Fautanu and the health of the rest of the health of the roster coming out of Sunday's training camp practice?
Sure, we'll talk injuries now in a relatively lengthy list, but I guess all things considered this time of year, not the worst spot to be in for Pittsburgh. Not practicing during Sunday's training camp, and you guys can listen to the training camp special edition episode to get the full details of what went down on Sunday. But just to recap the injury side of things, Keanu Benton and Troy Fautanu both injured in that Texans game, did not practice. Benton with an eye injury. He was wearing sunglasses, probably got poked in the eye, scratched cornea, something like that, but seems to be minor overall. Fautanu injured his left knee in that game sometime in the first half. Reported his knee sprain, according to Mike Tomlin. I think Jerry Dulac said 2 weeks. Jeremy Fowler said a minor MCL sprain. So certainly could be a lot worse, but the odds of Fautanu coming back this preseason don't look tremendously optimistic right now, and just unfortunate for him overall. Also not practicing Sunday, Dante Jackson, the cornerback, Marvin Leal. Not sure what's going on with either of those guys. Alex Highsmith remains out with his groin injury, as does Roman Wilson with his left ankle sprain.
Right. And very unfortunate when it comes to Fautanu. Went back through the TV tape and partials of the all 22 to see if I could see when Fautanu injured that knee. And it's look, he played, his last snap was the last offensive snap of the first half, and he did not play after that. And it did not look like he got injured on that final snap. I know we got Dr. Mel going through the all 22 probably right now as we speak, trying to find out, see if she can figure out where the injury may have occurred. And I think she's possibly writing up a post to go up on the site Monday morning, kind of describing what he's dealing with there. And look, the main takeaway here is you just hope, that he obviously is not going to play against the Bills on Friday. At least I'd be surprised if he did. It certainly doesn't sound like we'll see, but anything can happen. It sounds like he's at risk at missing that preseason finale as well, too. And you're talking about a rookie and a guy that, you'd really like to see get snaps. And where am I heading with this? We talk about it every time this time of the offseason when there's, questions about who might be first team come week one. Sometimes this stuff just comes out of the wash organically. And it certainly feels like it's happening this year with the 2 tackle spots. And I think if you're a betting person right now, your week 1 starting tackles would be Dan Moore at left tackle and Broderick Jones at right tackle.
And the crowd goes wild with boos. I was going to ask you, and basically to answer the question as well, this almost is going to at left tackle and Jones at right tackle. Had Fautanu stayed healthy, he was going to push for a spot. Would have been really interesting to see how the team handled that. But with him missing at least 1 preseason game and probably both, like you said, it's hard to see that guy getting the week 1 nod at Atlanta.
Yeah, look, I mean, he did some good things on tape in that game against the Texans, especially I think in some run situations. As a pass protector, he had some errors that he needs to straighten out. So, not great for him. And now you just kind of hope that he can rebound from this quickly and get a chance to potentially start after the season begins, work his way into a starting tackle spot there. But it doesn't look great for week 1. Of course, a lot of things can happen between now. Man, we still got 4. I mean, at the time, obviously we're recording this Sunday night. I mean, for week 1's 4 weeks away, so there's still a lot of time. But if I was betting, I would bet right now that Fautanu won't be a week 1 starter.
Same here. Should also mention during Sunday's practice, per Mike Tomlin, receiver Tariq Black with a hamstring injury and Kalen Barnes had a quad. And so we'll see about their statuses going forward and if any other roster moves get made. All right, Dave, let's jump into this game again. 20-12 loss to the Houston Texans Friday night preseason opener at Acrisure Stadium. A sloppy game overall for Pittsburgh. And some of that is granted to be expected first time out, but you got some veterans in there, making some sloppy plays that were below the line for what you would expect out of them. Is that the general takeaway you have from this game, Dave? 30,000 foot view, just sloppy Steelers?
Yeah, I think especially on the offensive side of the football, and obviously Justin Fields started this game as expected at quarterback. We got to see a couple series from him. They shot themselves in the foot, right? You had two bad exchanges between Nate Herbig and him that cost them two plays, and when you're only out there for a couple of series like that, you have a couple of plays lost just to exchanges. That's obviously bad. You had a couple of sack situations that ruined a couple of plays, and you're not able to give yourself an opportunity to even put good stuff down on film when things like that happen. So sloppy by the first team offense that they rolled out there. Obviously did not have Isaac Seumalo at left guard there for that game, but I thought outside of that, I thought we saw Justin Fields. Look, he had two instances where he got rid of the ball, having to use some unique arm angle deliveries. One, the first play of the game to Najee, and I think second, what was that? The second series, the one over to the right side, was that Pickens. Did a good job of getting that ball out, period, and getting positive yardage on both of those plays. Had a fantastic throw over there to the left on, what was it, like a 7 route, I guess, out route to Jefferson. Good ball placement there. I mean, statistically, he still was able to, he went, where's my stats here overall? 5 of 6 for 67 yards. Had a lot of yak in there overall. Was sacked 2 times. I think I think he had to scramble a couple of times in there. One was definitely off the muff there, but yeah, you just wish that the snaps that Justin Fields played in this game, you would have got to see all of them without them shooting themselves in the foot, most notably with the center quarterback exchanges. And it's so hard to break those down to know exactly who's at fault. Mike Tomlin basically said it's both of them, and I know both the players said it's on me. I got to do a better job on that. The first one, you get that. I think Steelers.com has one of the game recaps, has more of a field angle there. Looked like the first one kind of went through Justin Fields' hands. But even so, I've looked at every angle of that, and it's really hard to discern whose exact fault each one of those are. But the fact of the matter is, you can't have those things.
Yeah. That's my takeaway. We can try to get super nuanced about who's to blame. I don't have the expertise in the center quarterback exchange details and hand placement, all those types of things. To me, what it boils down to, Dave, they're 2 veteran players, Nate Herbig, Justin Fields. They've gotten a ton of time working together in training camp, with Russell Wilson missing large chunks of camp with the calf injury. So it's not like they're new people that haven't gotten acquainted. They do snapping every day in practice. The quarterbacks and centers do one-on-one before camp or before practice really gets started. So you can't have those. For me, though, it can be easy to almost hand wave that away because they weren't turnovers, and so you don't really feel the weight of them, but they can be so impactful. Obviously, you're just on fumble luck at that point, and you just can't rob yourself and your teammates of those opportunities that are generally so few in preseason action. So I thought as a passer, when they had clean exchanges, he did a nice job overall. There was good rhythm timing on play pass, and he was smart with the football. The sacks were obviously unfortunate, but some of that's not on him. Some of that's on receiver. Some of that's on down distance, those types of things. So I thought he looked good as a passer, but you can't, even though they were fortunate bounces and Pittsburgh recovered, no harm, no foul in a sense, no big turnover, you can't have those JV stuff between 2 veteran players.
Absolutely.
What are your thoughts here on Kyle Allen, to kind of stick with the quarterbacks in this one? Tough start for him. He looked a whole lot better in the second half, though.
I thought so as well, too. I think that one pass over to, I'm trying to remember the sequencing and all like that. I will say this. They ran, let's start, before we even talk that, let's talk about Arthur Smith. And just what this team tried to do schematically, formation-wise, personnel-wise. In the first half of this game, we got to see, as expected, them use a lot of 2 and 3 tight end settings. We got to see a fullback on the field a couple of times along with a couple of tight ends. They really did a good job of mixing 11 and they probably would have used even more 2 or 3 tight end sets versus 11 personnel if they hadn't been in longer down the distance by shooting themselves in the foot in the first half. But I like the mix of personnel. Look, why do you do that? You do that to see as many different people on the field in certain situations as much as possible. Specifically when you're trying to get some like 22 personnel out there with fullback and one extra tight end. So I thought overall Arthur Smith did a good job of mixing in the personnel into this game. We saw a healthy mix of under center versus shotgun, especially in the first half of this game. And I think in each half, you saw one snap of pistol. I was hoping maybe to see a little bit more of that in this game. And I think we will once we get it maybe a little bit deeper into the preseason and definitely into the regular season. And as far as what he called, I thought it was just vanilla enough. I thought he did a good job of mixing up, certain schemes. He went heavy on a couple of passing concepts to test his personnel on the field as well too. So I liked what he did. For the red zone down there with Kyle Allen, maybe you could have mixed it up, but I did think Kyle Allen left the throw on the field on that slot fade to Calvin Austin because the Texans blew the coverage on that. They didn't pass it off. He wasn't under heavy pressure. You got to make that throw,
Yep.
In that situation. But I think they ran the rider concept 3 or 4 times in this game with a vertical and sort of a cell concept overall on that. They connected on a couple of those. I thought those situations, Allen represented himself well. I thought he pushed the football down the field relatively good after, especially in the second half, like you said. But they did. He had that overthrow to the running back, maybe P. Ryan over there to the right side with a lot of open grass. I think he missed an opportunity for a big play there. I thought for a third quarterback playing with a lot of guys that aren't going to make this team overall. I thought he warmed up in the second half and ultimately represented himself well. Obviously, you get into the late game situation. Hey, look, as bad as they played, they're one possession away from tying this football game up and got the ball back in reasonable time. Obviously, you burn your timeouts at that point, and the defense is going to protect the middle of the field. And then he throws the pick there to seal it. But I didn't think it was an awful performance by Kyle Allen, but in the same breath, he didn't make a jump on the depth chart.
Yeah, he's still going to be third stringer. Pittsburgh will value his experience the way they valued Mason Rudolph as a number 3. They like having guys with Sunday experience top to bottom of the depth chart. He warmed up to it, and after a couple of bad misses to Austin in particular, you could argue Austin needs to not bobble that one. If he doesn't, that probably becomes a touchdown, but that should be a layup, play there for Kyle Allen. Missed a deep ball to Scotty Miller that was woefully out of bounds, but things got better in the second half and the offense moved the football. Yeah, the Arthur Smith, I know it's preseason, not a lot of game planning. It's kind of core base install type stuff. He called a good game and the offense looked good. I thought in terms of using stacks and bunches to get guys free, that was effective. Heavy use of play action. What was the number you had on play action to quarterbacks in this game? Something like 8 to 10 for 100 plus yards or like a touchdown. I mean, that's just, those are numbers we've not seen in Pittsburgh in a long, long time.
What about all that under center stuff too?
Sure. The same. The hallmarks of the Smith offense. I mean, I had the stat. Pittsburgh had, and again, I know it's preseason, the numbers don't matter a ton, but Pittsburgh had 3 completions off of play action that gained 20 plus yards. That's the same number of completions Matt Canada had last year before being fired in his 10, 11 games as offensive coordinator. And so just that alone, you're getting play action, you're getting max protect, you're getting the same concepts off of different looks, 3x1, 2x2, keeping the back in, getting kind of that, corner, like you said, sail concept back out in the flat, check release, a 7 route, and then kind of a deeper vertical clear out route that were all effective. We're getting some crossers that take advantage of leverage off of play action from, maybe the isolated receiver. So just even in that alone, just kind of some simple play action, work leverage, get guys open, get big plays. That was refreshing.
8 of 10 for 123 yards with 1 touchdown on 11 total dropbacks using play action versus the Texans. Love it.
Yeah, haven't seen that in a while and really happy to see it now. Low red zone, goal line, some good concepts. The one that got Austin open, the pick and rub, again, should have been a touchdown. Player fault, not coaching fault. Even the Connor Hayward touchdown, there was a little pick there. Rodney Williams was to the outside of Connor Hayward. He comes across and Hayward jets to the flat, get a little pick and leverage, a little traffic the defense has to wade through, gives Hayward a step. You're in low red zone. All you need is a step, get out there on the edge, and Hayward put the ball in the end zone. So I thought just being able to create space, create separation, scheme guys open. What a concept. It's nice to see that in Pittsburgh.
Look, it means nothing in the grand scheme of things in preseason with so many different players, shuffling in on both sides of the football. But 7 explosive plays of 20 yards or more for the Steelers offense. The Texans, believe it or not, only had 1, and that was the touchdown Stroud to Tank Dell, their first score of the game there. If I would have told you, not that it doesn't amount to the hill of beans, if I would have told you on the preview podcast prior to this, that the Steelers win the explosive play battle 7-1. Do you tell me they win the preseason game?
I would have told you they won, and my wallet would be a little emptier today for it.
Right. So 7 explosive plays. Listener, this is just part of the meaningless analysis, but look, you got 7 explosive plays you were able to get out of this mess, and that's even after ruining several plays with a couple of snaps, a couple of bad snaps, and a couple of sacks in this game, and obviously the failed red zone pass there to Calvin Austin was costly. So I think Arthur Smith did his job in this game. I think offensively, they let him down.
Just looking at the run game, too, a little slow in the early goings, but the second team O-line and later in the first half and second half, the run game really got going. And I thought it was interesting. You saw the variety in the run game, despite Smith being known as a zone guy, and they certainly ran, inside zone, outside zone. In this one, the first run play of the game was a trap play with Spencer Anderson pulling. It got messed up because Anderson tripped over, I think, Herbig, and he fell. The whole play got blown up, but you saw power on that one. You pointed out they ran crunch. They ran that wham play with Washington ear hole in the 3-tech, and that got 9 yards. And so, it was not just zone from Arthur Smith.
Yeah, and I thought good job by Jonathan Ward on busting that one outside. The contain kind of crept down a little bit too low on the edge, and normally you probably don't see a guy win that, but he won the edge and got a nice little gain out of that as well too. So there were little bright spots in the run game. I thought once, look, let's talk about Zach Frazier coming in. I thought even his first snap, I thought was kind of a tone setter for him overall. Was his game perfect overall? I thought he could have been better at the second level and out in space of maybe staying on some blocks a little bit better. But I think you saw him reach a couple of times effectively. I thought you saw him turn a couple of guys effectively, and even on the good blocking on that long run by DeJuan Edwards, what was that, 24 yards. Nice hole for him to get through with Frazier moving some furniture out of the middle of the field on that. So I thought Frazier for a rookie's first preseason game at the center position, I thought it was above the line.
And clean snaps for having the issues with the first teamers. Frazier being clean. He has worked, I think, really clean throughout camp. Maybe there was a snafu with the snap once or twice early in camp, but since then he has been really clean overall. Yeah, I mean, I'm still going through the tape. You're ahead of me right now, but I thought similar thoughts. The first play, creating displacement, running his feet, being able to reach and cut off. I want to get a better look at him in pass protection on the all-22. But yeah, I thought overall, first time out, you kind of felt like, okay, this is why you draft him. I think on the touchdown, who had the touchdown? P. Ryan? Whoever had it, clearing the lane on that one too. So you saw this guy be a sticky run blocker who can drive his feet, displace people, create openings. that's why you drafted that kid.
They left Edwards back in on that 1 yard run.
Okay, it was Edwards. Okay.
Yeah, on that one. So they were able to bury that drive out after an explosive run there. But I thought he stuck out there once again. Fautanu had the he going against a handful there to start the game when he came into the game there to play on the right side there. I think the pass protection obviously. It's too bad he's not going to play in these final, or doesn't sound like he's going to play in these final 2 preseason games. Could like to see him get more pass protection snaps and all like that. I thought in the run game he was okay. And once again, it's hard to, going back through the tape, know exactly when he was injured, and probably essentially playing on one leg there. I thought Mason McCormick, kind of up and down. I think there was some positive in his tape overall, especially getting out to the second level. I thought he had a couple of good pass protection stalls, if you will, in during the game as well too. But I really think my main takeaway as far as the offensive line as a whole went in that game, I thought Frazier was above the line, and I think especially with the center quarterback exchanges not going great early on, especially with Herbig not being your the most experienced NFL center overall. I think the door is open for Frazier to win this thing with 2 preseason games left.
It is. It's still, to me, up in the air, and whatever happens these next 2 weeks may determine it. And Frazier getting some first team action with the starters, obviously, during Sunday's training camp practice. Not a lot, but getting about 1 rep in each team period with the ones. And so you're seeing a rotation for the first time this training camp. Whereas going into this game, Herbig was running first team all camp, and the driver's seat having a nice camp. Games can change things. Games get weighted differently, as Mike Tomlin said, and this one weighing in Zach Frazier's favor. Yeah, Fautanu, I thought the run blocking looked good. There was one pull where he got out in space and threw a block, pass pro. It's tough facing Danielle Hunter in one of your first NFL reps. I mean, those are guys you're going to face if you're going to start, but it is, a little welcome to the NFL. This is what one of the top pass rushers in football looks like. And Hunter is one of those guys who got paid a ton this offseason. Criminally underrated pass rusher because he's up there in Minnesota, doesn't get the fanfare that he should. I thought Fautanu didn't get enough width and depth on his set. Took kind of a shorter vertical set, drag hand on the 3 tech against Hunter. You got to be out of your stance a little bit quicker, cover that space quicker. In college, you can probably get away with that because you're just athletic and you're not facing that top end pass rush talent. You can kind of cheat a little bit. Can't really cheat in the NFL in that set. And so that was really more the issue than it was, anything else. I think he just took a bad set on that play.
All right. As far as kind of the receivers win, Scotty Miller, I thought he made some plays.
I'll go back to the offensive line here. Just 2 more additional thoughts. McCormick, I thought, maybe up and down. I'm still going through the tape, but I thought he worked his hands well. I thought he refit his hands and was able to repunch.
Especially on one stall, certainly he did. Yeah. I know one stuck out to me where he had a good stalemate there.
So just watching him execute technique, I thought was impressive from that standpoint. What do you think about, and I don't have conclusions yet, but watching the first half so far that I've gotten through, Spencer Anderson, I thought did a nice job at guard, working out in space and being able to stick. That's a guy that, is he making a run at a roster spot right now? Is he a guy that you want to, I hate doing the whole he'll get claimed, and that usually it's not the case, but with offensive linemen, there's a higher chance, and that's a guy that I think is worth keeping around.
Well, I'll tell you this much. Dylan Cook didn't have as good a game at tackle as Anderson did at guard. And as you mentioned in the training camp special edition wrap up, Anderson, I think, was getting a little bit of work at tackle on Sunday. So it does make you wonder if come the second preseason game, if we don't maybe see Anderson get a couple of tackle snaps along with some guard work. And if he does, and he represents himself well, look, is it going to be 8, 9, or 10 offensive linemen? That's obviously the big question. You would think it's going to probably be at least 9, because they got to dress 8 on game days to maximize the full use of the guys that you can dress for games. So it's probably going to be 9. If they keep 10, I think he's inside the bubble, Alex.
Oh, sure.
For sure. I think the question becomes is Is he a better option for you if you're keeping 9 than say Dylan Cook? Because I think Cook had a little bit of a rough game over there at left tackle.
Okay, I'm still going through that tape. Don't have any conclusions on that yet, but do you want to cut Cook? You can hold on to this guy to develop, and with Fautanu's injury, do you want to have the extra tackle? I think the question, you're going to keep at least 9.
Right. You might have to keep 10, depending on if, because you're obviously, Fautanu is going to be on your 53, and he might have to be inactive week 1,
Yeah.
So,
and I don't even say you have to keep 10. Do you want to keep 10? Are the 10 guys worth keeping? You've invested so heavily in the offensive line. You're looking towards next year. You may lose. You're almost certain to lose James Daniels. You may lose Nate Herbig. You want to have some of these young guards and guard capable. Hayward or Anderson, can play tackle or guard, even center. So just you want to make sure that you keep your O-line talent you've been cultivating and building up.
Yeah. Well, I mean, are either one of those guys, Cook or Anderson, going to? I mean, we have the talk with the fans every year. You can't cut that guy; he won't clear waivers. Now, if Anderson continues to get heavy amount of snaps, especially at guard, and represents himself well, I mean, look, anything could happen then. But it's definitely something that bears watching in these final 2 games when it comes to Cook and Anderson.
Right. We don't have to come to a conclusion now. The team hasn't, but we should be talking about it. And that's kind of the point I want to make. I think this is a guy that's gotten a ton of first team work because of all the rest days. Say Malu's gotten in training camp. I think he's had a good camp overall. Anderson has. Thought he had a decent game. And you just see a young offensive lineman. You generally want to hang on to those guys.
Okay.
All right, let's go to wide receivers. Unless you had any third team thoughts for the offensive line, I've not been able to even get to that portion.
No, it was sloppy. It was real slow. You had a fault. You had one false start at least in that group, and several pressures I think in that group late in that game. There was nothing that stuck out with that group.
Yeah, there's no third team gem. I think
Beach gave up. Didn't he give up a pressure or sack or something like that? And yeah, it wasn't great with that last unit.
All right, let's talk wide receivers, Dave. What stuck out to you the most from that group?
Scotty Miller can get open and he can make plays. That's number one. The second thing that stuck out to me with this group, I saw nice run blocking efforts out of Jefferson, even Calvin Austin trying to mix it up a little bit and get a body on a body. But my main takeaway here was Scotty Miller made a good statement that he probably belongs on an NFL roster still right now after one preseason game.
Yeah, he's versatile. He's fast. He's good effort guy. He's a strong route runner. He's had a consistent training camp. What kind of role would he have offensively? Not a huge one, but there's some return potential value as well. Punt return, I think kick return especially. So a guy that I think has had a good camp in building up his odds of making the team. Calvin Austin did have a pair of 20-yard receptions, had that missed opportunity on that bad ball from Allen that Austin, again, I'm not blaming Austin for that failed fourth down. That was, to me, much more on Allen than Austin. But again, you look at a pass, Austin's got to adjust for, not throwing perfectly on him, can't make the play, a bobble. That's been a consistent recurring theme I've seen from him throughout last training camp, throughout the regular season, and training camps this year so far. So to me, still running that third receiver right now. Is he ahead of Scotty Miller though? I mean, who would you rather have, Austin or Miller? I
think it's still Austin right now, but I mean, no doubt Miller made some plays in this game, got himself open, and he bears watching moving on into these next couple of games.
And Austin, to his credit, bounced back and had a couple of explosive plays, two of those seven that you mentioned earlier. So we'll keep watching those guys going forward. And I think Austin is a really high effort guy that blocks well and does all the little things well, and very technical and detailed. And as Izani says, easy to coach.
Right. Now, Quez Watkins, how many snaps did he even play in this game? Watkins played... Where is it here? 16 offensive snaps. I don't think he registered a catch. His highlight was a low light, unfortunately, on the punt return. He obviously didn't do himself any favors there. But I think as far as the receivers go, once again, I think Austin and Scotty Miller Look, Pickens made his plays early in the game, and he was out of there. Pickens did what he was supposed to do. Jefferson had that catch on the 7 over there from Justin Fields early in the game. But I did see good effort out of Jefferson and Austin in the blocking game. Pickens made his catches, got out of the game. And outside of that, there wasn't really a lot to talk about with the wide receivers.
I like Pickens. Yak continues to show he can do damage post catch on that screen, where, as you said earlier, Fields drops sidearm and just making a guy miss, or at least outrunning him to the edge and, picking up 10, 15 yards. Another kind of screen left sideline that got you some good yak. And so that's been, to me, the biggest difference I've seen in Pickens since he came into the league. Came in so raw, vertical route only, no yak at all. That began to change last year in a pretty serious way, and that has continued this year. Jefferson really had 2 catches. That second one along the sideline, a nice grab they called incomplete.
Oh, that's right.
Tomlin should have challenged. I know it's preseason, so really kind of who cares? But how do you not? You're at home. You have all the advantages. They're probably replaying it up on the scoreboard. I don't know. But to me, Jefferson technically had 1 catch, but in my eyes had 2.
Yeah, and the guy's trying to make a roster. You're trying to put it on tape, qualify as a catch. So, yeah, I was a bit surprised seeing a replay. I don't know. Tomlin just looking up at the scoreboard didn't challenge it. I don't understand that.
All right. Any other thoughts here with the receivers?
No, I think we got that.
All right, tight ends. I know PFF, and that can be a dirty word sometimes, but they gave Darnell Washington really high marks. I know he had that good down block on that wham we referenced earlier. It sounds like Washington blocked well.
I have not hyper focused on him, but I mean the wham, that was a problem that he had sometimes last year on that crunch play, was getting out of his stance quick enough and winning that cutoff or completing the wham, if you will. And he did that on that run play to Warren. And I thought overall he represented himself well. Now we did see Connor Hayward draw a holding penalty as an end of the line tight end. I don't think you're going to see a lot of Connor Hayward into the line tight end as much. Hopefully you stay away from that. But yeah, I thought Washington, in the snaps that I remember, I thought he represented. And look, that's the big thing with him, right? I mean, you're probably not going to see him a lot utilized in the passing game overall. We hope to see him some maybe in the red zone and all like that. But this guy is going to be in a lot of 2 and 3 tight end situations on offense there, and he's got to improve his run blocking over last year. And I thought at least by this first preseason game, he did that, and we need to see more of that moving forward, obviously into the preseason. I thought Michael Pruitt represented himself fairly well in the blocking component of things, from what I remember. How many snaps did he play? I was going to
ask, how many snaps did he and Rodney Williams get in this one? What was the split?
16 for Pruitt, Washington 18. Who else did you ask about?
Rodney Williams, because those guys are
10 snaps for him.
Okay. I wonder if those were late. How many run blocks? I want to see Williams as a blocker.
I think most of Williams late too, and probably. out of 11 personnel, I think, for those last couple of drives. And I think he was even. I don't think he was even. I can't remember how many he was even attached for.
Okay, yeah. I mean, he's that receiver background, was a receiver at UT Martin. I want to see him blocking, because that's going to be the thing. Can he be a decent, competent blocker? If he can, then he might have more value than Pruitt, because he can play on teams, is younger, more athletic. If not, Pruitt, knowing that Arthur Smith background too, the chemistry, the connection, the relationship they have, I still have Pruitt with a slight edge over Williams right now.
Yeah, I mean, after this game, at least this initial game, I'd have to agree with you. Yeah. Most definitely. I'm trying to look real quick to see run snaps versus pass snaps for Rodney Williams.
Probably only a couple, because they were down late and trying to play catch up in those last couple of series.
10 total snaps, because I think there was a penalty in there for Rodney Williams. 9 of them were pass snaps.
Okay. All right, so we'll watch for that going forward. But it is good that Williams is healthy and working in full. Had that shoulder injury early in camp, and he's past that, or at least past it enough to play in practice.
Right. I mean, Connor did a good job, obviously, on the on the touchdown, leaked out to the right there. Kyle Allen hit him on that. He had the holding call in there. I think that was about kind of it from what I remember from the tight ends overall.
Any other thoughts here for the offense, Dave? Big picture, small picture, individual in this game?
I like the explosive plays. I like what Arthur Smith tried to do, at least in a vanilla preseason game. Don't like the wasting of the snaps with Justin Fields. Like that one throw by Justin Fields over to the left side. I like the 2 angle arm adjustment deliveries that he had to make under pressure there to complete a couple passes. I just wish we would have seen more of him and cleaner snaps and less sacks. And obviously moving on into the game, not bearing that red zone 4th down and goal was for a preseason game was a huge turning point in this one. And then, you get down like that late in the game in the last couple of drives and you're playing with a lot of backups there. It's a lot to ask in this situation. I thought Kyle Allen, as the game went on, got a little bit better. I thought Scotty Miller held up his part of the show. It's just, as an offensive unit as a whole, it was just obviously too many mistakes to make in a preseason game.
Agreed, and something that needs to be cleaned up for the second time out. All right, Dave, flipping over to defense again, you're probably ahead. For me, really the all 22 that we watched came out when I got home from practice and I wrote my report and jumped into the offensive tape a little bit, so I've not even really begun with the defense much. What are your impressions? Let's start D-line here. You can talk about Montravius Adams, a good game for him. DeMarvin Leal, a sack. He continues to play well. Your overall takeaways from that unit?
Montravius Adams still has the juice as a pass rusher. I thought he did a good job in this game as a pass rusher. Got his hands up, and I think on one of those as well too. Obviously had a nice sack in this game against the run. Still needs some work there for Montravius Adams. Keanu Benton, in the few snaps that he played before he got poked in the eye, I saw enough.
Oh yeah, he was really good.
I saw enough. Started off with a good pass rush using that long arm, which is good to see. To get some deep pressure on one of those runs, along with Peyton Wilson. He did a good job of finally getting off of his block, and him and Peyton Wilson shut that run down up the middle. So look, for the few snaps that he played, I saw enough. He's fine.
I love that power too, because we've talked about it all offseason. We know he can rush with finesse. That club over is so good, but can you complement that with a second move? And to me, I wanted that to be power, so you can threaten on the edges and down the middle to go with that long arm and stab and walk that center back and collapse the pocket. If he can continue to do that, and that was against a starter too. That was against Hugh Scruggs. That wasn't against the Texans backup. Right. If he can continue to do that, man, that sky is the limit for a guy like him.
Yeah, look, this should be a huge jump year for him, period. I mean, you could see him get 5 sacks, I think, this season. So I think, once again, I thought he got off a block good, and I think he's going to be fine against the run when he's in there. So yeah, no complaints there. A lot of Larry Ogunjobi had a little bit of jump as a pass rusher early in this game. He didn't play many snaps. I think he played 10 total. I think one time he had to get through 2 guys to get a pressure or a pseudo pressure in this game. So in the few snaps, Larry Ogunjobi looked healthy, man. So obviously the money he's making, we've got to see more out of Larry Ogunjobi than we've seen so far. And judging by 10 total snaps, I like what I saw there. There was a lot of talk heading into this game about what's going to happen with DeMarvin Leal. Is he going to be playing a lot of outside linebacker in this game? I think you totaled up. How many snaps did he play at outside linebacker in this game, Alex?
I only have 1, and I wanted to go back and double check, make sure I didn't miss something. But I mean, he played a lot of defensive end. He played up and down the line, tackle. But I only have 1 official stand-up outside linebacker snap for DeMarvin Leal.
Look, I thought he played well against the run, and obviously had the sack in this game. I thought he damn sure didn't hurt his chances. That's for sure. This is, you're wanting a lot from this guy to start living up to that draft pedigree, and this was a good first preseason game for him. Man, I can't believe he's only 274, 75 pounds or whatnot, but he moves, he can run. Now look, you said he missed Sunday though, right? So I don't know maybe what's bothering him, if anything at all, maybe trying to get looks at other guys, but I thought he represented himself well. Willington Prevelion, Beef Prevelion, as we like to call him, I think, thanks to a listener. Better against the run. Not much use to him as a pass rusher in my notes here. One interesting note about defensive line. I thought Isaiah Loudermilk was Isaiah Loudermilk.
He had two pressures. He had that one almost like he get a piece of the football. That one on, I think he almost that Ryan Watts almost picked off. I think Loudermilk, he impacted the play. I don't know if he got a hand on the football, but it's a good little rip move through the guard.
All right, and he played a lot of snaps in this game, 29 overall. Logan Lee, they had him playing over the nose quite a bit in this game. That's not where he belongs.
Yeah, he was doing that because Fehoko was down, and they didn't lose bet, and they didn't really have any nose tackles at that point.
Right, and I think he was on the ground a little bit because of that. I mean, look, you're willing to do whatever the team asks you to do, right? But him over the nose, that's not where he belongs. He belongs more in that 3-eye 4 technique. And what does your charting say about how many snaps he did get at defensive end?
Give me 1 second. I should have had this pulled up ahead of time, but vamp for a second here while I pull up again. He's playing all around right now, and yeah, he's not a nose tackle, but they ask you to play nose tackle. You're a 6th-round rookie. You say yes, sir. You get in there and get the snaps you can get. Just give me 1 second.
We hit on Leal, hit on Montravius. Going down the list here, Jacob. I didn't pay much attention to Jacob Slade. I got to be honest with you. Who else played on that offensive line there? We mentioned Loudermilk. We're talking about Lee now, and I think that was it.
You said Lee, number of defensive end or defensive tackle. What are you looking for in particular here?
How many snaps inside the guards?
Well, I'll just go from charting by charting. I got 1 snap at left defensive end, at nose tackle. I got 20 snaps at nose.
Right, that matches.
And then at D tackle, left and right spots, I got 3. So he really was primary nose. Houston obviously was leading, and so they were in their big packages. That means Pittsburgh was in their base, and Lee was at nose tackle, which is like you said. I mean, he's got a decent body type to do it, but it's not his position.
He needs more. If he's going to do that, he needs more sand in his pants.
And he's like 6'5", a little too tall to play over.
Right.
Play over center like that.
Right. I think that was it for the defensive line, because they were down Fehoko, and obviously Cam Hayward didn't play. Ogunjobi was only played the little less than a dozen snaps in this one. Benton was out early.
I just hope Leal gets back tomorrow, because even last year was in and out, and I think he had like conditioning issues or some heat issues last year, and this year he missed a little bit of time and missed today, and he's had a good camp, but you got to be available to be trusted, and so we'll keep an eye on that going forward.
One other note I have here on Logan Lee, that run over there to the, I think, off of left tackle. He chased after the football, I think, and did a good job running after the ball, which obviously your coach did. John Mitchell was emphasized that, and I thought he showed good effort on that one play that I don't know what it gained, like four yards or something like that.
Yeah, he's got a hot motor. He did that at Iowa, so no questions to me about his effort. That was one of his most positive traits, but we'll see more about Lee, hopefully playing more conventional D tackle going forward. All right, outside linebacker room in general. Peyton Wilson, a bunch of snaps, first snap of the game, his career tackle for loss, very just football justice, as Mike Tomlin says, for that guy to make a play early.
Look, against a run, man, he was pretty impressive. Reading his keys, going, obviously filling gaps properly. That early tackle for loss, cutting up. Look, that's dangerous to do, right? You better, if you're going to cut under, you better get there. And he did. He had a nice fill on another one, fill in the gap, and you get one-on-one in open grass situation. If he doesn't make that, that's going to be a big run there. I think he did a good job filling a gap down deep when the Texans had the ball in their own end that forced a runner back inside. If he doesn't fill that gap properly, that probably picks up big yards. He forced that back inside to help. I thought against the run he was fantastic, Alex. I really did. I thought he fought through trash a couple of times when he had to. Really, for a first game, look, he was one of the guys we talked about, really wanted to see. So I think it's definitely a game that he could build on. He did not look like a fish out of water. Did not, you probably wouldn't have known it was his first preseason game, to be quite honest with you. Coverage, now when you get into the coverage and some of the zone stuff and all like that, probably could have been better. Overall, I think he gave up a couple of catches and all like that. So I think the coverage aspect of it and will come. I think that's one of the things to maybe focus on in these final 2 preseason games with him. But top to bottom, I thought he represented himself well.
He missed a couple of tackles. I think Josh Carney put him down for 2. I know there was that one catch right side, and he missed the tackle, and Robinson cleaned it up. So that, want to make sure we're not allowing yak and those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. But yeah, to me, the most impressive thing that I just kind of watching it live, watching back the TV tape, was that FBI, that football intelligence he has, and how quickly he's reading things that allows him to play fast. Even on the one, it was a boot to the flat, the receiver, Mechie or Hutchinson, whatever, in the flat. He dropped it, but Wilson is right on him. Even if that's a catch, that's not going to go anywhere. So to react to that and read that and be able to match the receiver in space, you got to have some really good reaction time, instincts, and of course, speed, athleticism to make that play. So I just thought his diagnosis was really good for a first time through.
Yeah, and what do we say about him? The football intelligence, I don't think you have to worry about that at all.
Yeah, when you have an older class, a draft class the Pittsburgh had, typically they go more underclass and especially early, but you have seniors and 24-year-olds or soon to be 24-year-olds in Fautanu, and Wilson's 24, who, partially due to injuries, but had 5 years in college. And so they're a little more out of the box ready than maybe some of the underclassmen of past years.
I thought Mark Robinson, for the most part, took a bad angle on one of those plays. I think you can ding him on. Kind of overran it. Guy cut back inside there, but I thought for the most part, I didn't think he was as impactful as Peyton Wilson, but I thought Mark Robinson was okay in this game. Landon Roberts was out. I know who Landon Roberts is. I didn't focus a lot on him. Was watching more of Peyton Wilson when he was in the game in that situation there. As far as late guys, if we're talking about inside linebacker, I thought Jacoby Windman represented himself really, really well in late action.
Okay, anything in particular about his game? Looked athletic out there.
Yeah. It looked like he had a good idea of what he was looking at and what to expect and how to read stuff overall. And I think didn't he have a pass breakup in there?
Yeah, that was I think a conversion down, right? A little crosser he got a hand on. Did he play out? He played outside and inside. I'll pull up my chart and see where he aligned at in this one. Now it looks like just only off-ball linebacker in this one.
Right. He was inside, I think, along with Matakevich and then
Gibbs. 4 steps, so the ghost of Easton Gibbs.
Right. So I thought Windman represented himself well. If you're talking about inside guys there, and did they have anybody else? I didn't pay attention to Gibbs. I got to be honest with you.
4 snaps, 1 a kneel down, not much, and he's out the door. What about the outside guys? To me, Kyron Johnson stuck out. Really explosive. Even late in the game, had that tackle on 3rd down to help Pittsburgh get the ball back, threaten the edges some. That's a guy still in the mix. Him and Jeremiah Moon are going to probably fight till the end for that 4th outside linebacker spot.
Man, he can get off the edge. I'll tell you that. He can win on the edge, a little swipe and bit the edge real well on the Montravius Adams sack that forced the quarterback to step up a little bit because of that, right into the arms of Adams. I thought he did a good job a couple times coming off the edge in there. I think as far as a run defender goes, especially, he had some key. He had two plays in that final stop drive, that 3 and out, didn't he?
He had the tackle. I think they tried to run a little jet play on that. I think it was the 3rd down that he made the open field tackle on. I don't know if he had one before that, but yeah, he was active.
Look, I think top to bottom, he's a better pass rusher than he is a run defender. He's got that smaller frame. It'd be interesting to see him. And look, I think he's earned a step up and, obviously to play. We'll see who I don't think Highsmith probably going to play in the second game. And we'll see about Watt. But I think he's deserved every opportunity to play another large portion of snaps to see how he can see if he. I want to see him against the run more.
Yeah, he's a smaller body type, and that's the issue there. Speaking of which, about Nick Herbig, started this game, mentioned on the special edition episode, his spin move he's been working on this offseason. So that guy's got a ton of tricks in his bag, and the spin might be a new one.
Yeah, look, and even though that at least that early spin didn't go the way he wanted to, looked like he lost the footing and all, it's good to see him working on that kind of stuff to broaden his pass rush repertoire. Boy, he's still got that point A to point B on that pressure in the game as well too. I think he played where all the snaps were on the left side, weren't they?
Yes, all left side.
Right. So, and we've seen him obviously play on the right already. So I thought, how many snaps did he play in this game?
Not many. Looks like 7, 8, 9, 10.
Yeah. 11 snaps. So here's the thing. You knew when he was on the field, just like his rookie season, right? So that was good there.
All right. Anything else from the edge guys? Moon, he had a sack, but it was a free rush. I mean,
he finished it. You got to bury that, and he did.
Right. It was a corner blitz from Arnold. No one picked him up, but still finished the play. You take that.
Welshoff started too, didn't he?
Yeah, I was going to ask. I think the starting backers were, it was Welshoff and Herbig. So kudos to Welshoff. He's worked really hard this year.
Yeah, they played him 47 snaps in this game.
Anything notable on his tape stick out?
I didn't. I'm only 1.5 times through it. I haven't really focused on him.
Yeah, I haven't gotten a great feel. I know he tried to spin counter early in this game, and again, he's too tall. That spin move, he's got to go away because it's never going to work for him. But good to get the exposure, get those snaps, and be out there. He hasn't played football in a long. Last time he played the game was early last year because he had a shoulder injury at Charlotte and missed only 4 games in and was out. So it's been a while for him to be inside a stadium. So that's just good for him. All right, Dave, let's go to the secondary now. Let's start at cornerback. Penalty for Joey Porter Jr. Pass interference there. Had a breakup, or at least contested a pass later in the game on a 3rd down. Anything else? I'm sure there are, of course, plenty of insights, but what else at corner do you want to talk about?
Yeah, Corey Trice, didn't play a huge amount of snaps. I think 18 in total, and I think good portion of those were against the run. I thought for a first game, he moved around, looked like he knew his assignments and all. Had that nice TFL on that play over to his side later in the game. Look, for a guy that first game, I thought he did well.
Yeah, just to be inside a stadium. I talk about long time since stadium play. He has not done it at the NFL level. His last inside a stadium experience football game was in college at Purdue, tearing his ACL the first padded practice of camp last year, just over a year ago to date. So to have that and have that tackle for loss and that screen, that stick for a 3-yard loss was awesome. So
I think that was the only time he was targeted too.
Yeah, I think like you said, he came in 4th quarter. Houston was up. They weren't throwing the ball a ton at that point, but good to get some snaps out there, get evaluated, put on the helmet, step inside a stadium. Just sentimentally, even just a special moment for him, I'm sure.
Right. Beanie, we saw some of that physicality come up against the run. I haven't spent a lot of time looking at him in coverage yet, though.
Let me see if he was targeted in my charting. I have him down targeted twice, allowed 2 receptions for 22 yards. Don't quite remember those. One, I forget what the one was, but yeah, you got some snaps out there and just good to get his feet wet.
Right. And I think they asked him to come off the edge a couple of times and obviously didn't get a sack or anything like that. But definitely a guy to watch moving forward, especially with him kind of seemingly being in that pole position right now.
What was your takeaway on the Tank Dell touchdown, 3rd down? Can't give that up. You put that on Averett. You put that on Elliott. Who do you blame? What's your input?
Yeah, I kind of wonder what the safety was doing in that situation there.
Yeah, it was cover 3. It looked like I thought Averett could have squeezed that better. That one vertical route. I know it's to his inside, to his where he's kind of out leveraged, but I think he's got to contest that better. And then, of course, you got to make the tackle. Averett missed it. Casey missed it. Can't allow all that yak against Tank, though.
Right.
Anything else there? Rush getting some burn. I know he's still in the mix. He's kind of fallen back some on this battle, it felt like. You got Thomas Graham getting slot reps, Arnold getting some slot reps. I think Graham came in ahead of Arnold, but Arnold was the first team slot corner during Sunday's camp practice. So, I know we're all kind of on the Beanie Bishop train and, what he's been able to do as the first team slot corner. But to me, this thing's open and you got three guys that have made plays this camp and Graham and Arnold and Bishop.
Yeah, it'll be, especially with Arnold getting back running again. And, I think as you've noted, Graham has been showing up in practices and all like that. So I expect Beanie, Graham, and Arnold to get a lot of burn in this second preseason game.
If you really want to, there's not been a true blue obvious camp darling, but if you want a name, it's probably Thomas Graham Jr. He has made plays around the football. He's got 2 picks. I just saw Terrell Austin talking him up. I mean, he's still battling for a roster spot, but like in terms of camp guys you really didn't have on your radar that are making plays, Thomas Graham probably fits as well as anybody. All right. Anything else there at corner? If not safety, there's not a ton to evaluate at safety, but I think Ryan Watts had a strong performance overall. Good open field tackles, had a lot of snaps, and just, first time out making that transition was impressive.
Wish he would have made a couple of those interceptions, though. Long arms and all. Boy, one of them for sure it looked like he probably could have had there. Look, I think the biggest thing with him is he's just got to learn the position, moving forward there. And I think didn't Terrell Austin kind of say as much today when he talked to the media?
I hadn't even looked at the whole transcript, but that probably sounds right, making that switch there from corner to safety.
Let me see if I can pull that up real quick, what Terrell Austin said about Ryan Watts. Where is it here? He says he just looks like a young guy who's never played safety, but in terms of assignment-wise, he wasn't where he was supposed to be. I'd like to hear the audio of that. But he says, but the thing I really liked about him was his run and tackle ability really showed an appetite for that. And the arrow is pointed up for him. For a lot of guys, it's always an adjustment coming into the league anyway, but he's coming into the league and changing positions. So he may have steeper learning curve than the others, but I like all the baseline stuff that he has, and he's a heck of a kid. He works his tail off. So I think he'll get it and end up being a pretty good player for us at some point.
Yeah, I wonder if 53 is going to be in the cards. That sounds more like a practice squad player, but they don't have a ton of depth at safety right now. Watts could potentially help out on teams because he can run, he can hit, he's physical, he's long. Yeah, I think he's decently athletic overall in a line. So we'll see. But yeah, I think that sums it up well. The traits, the baselines there, he's been available. He's worked every day. I think he's communicated well. He's been vocal, getting to learn from some veteran safeties and Minka and Elliott, Killebrew, Cam Sutton, playing a bunch of safety at this point. So I'm encouraged.
Look, make some plays in the special teams or defense when you get those balls in the up in the air like that. You make enough of those in the preseason, they'll find a way to put you on the 53.
How many special team snaps for Ryan Watts in this game? Can you pull that up here real quick? Sure, he got some.
Let me see. Boy, such a long list during the preseason.
Trying to find where he was at. I mean, he got a lot of defensive snaps, 30-something, I think.
9 special team snaps.
Okay. Not a ton, but it's something. I don't think he got gunner work. I don't think he was out there, but we'll have to check the tape and see exactly where he was at. Maybe some kickoffs, maybe some kick return type stuff on that blocking unit.
If you're scoring at home, and I know you are, Jacoby Windman, 16 special team snaps. Jeremiah Moon, 13 special team snaps. Darius Rush, 14 special team snaps.
What did Trice have?
Trice had 3.
Ooh, not a lot for Trice. And that's a guy that was not playing until the fourth quarter on defense. So
you'll probably see that. His first game, probably one of them, maybe 5. I don't know. But
no, you're fair. That's a good point.
I would expect that to ramp up in the second one. I'll tell you that. Yeah,
I'm not saying, oh my God, freaking out, but we want to watch that number going forward and see if he's going to get increased work there. And if Rush does make this team, I think teams is his path. That's going to be his calling card.
If you want to talk snaps offensive side of football for special teams, Fitzpatrick, 13.
Yep. That's his game.
Jonathan Ward, 13. That's another guy you said watch out for special teams. Jack Coletto, 11.
Yeah, those are the names we talk about. I think Ward has really pressed hard for a practice squad spot. He's been versatile. He's shown burst. He's had that good run you mentioned, that 20-yarder left side, creating, bouncing that run out. Fitzpatrick battling for that fifth spot. He was always going to have the team's edge over the other guys like Austin and Watkins and Miller. So that's still going to be his thing. And then, yeah, Coletto, I think he's still in the bubble, but if he can show on special teams, he can make some plays and be an asset there. There is a path to the 53 for Jack Coletto.
Two more here at the page break for defense that I missed. Peyton Wilson, who we know is going to play special teams. He had 13 special teams. Now, you want to talk about burn in this game? Peyton Wilson, 44 defensive snap, 13 on special teams. Kyron Johnson, who obviously was on the roster second half of last season for his special teams ability, had 10 special team snaps in this game. So it's already starting to weed out a little bit. Now, I think the second one's really where you start. I mean, if some of these same guys start get the same kind of percentage of burn on special teams in this second preseason game, look, we know Wilson's going to be out there, right? That's not a surprise, but these guys like Moon, Windman, Rush, Trice, Fitzpatrick, Ward, those are guys you got to pay attention to.
How many total snaps for Wilson? 50, what was the math? 40 something and 13?
It was 44 and 13.
57 snaps. You know what that tells me about Peyton Wilson and the coaches? They trust his conditioning. And I know Tomlin mentioned that a week or two ago, that he's in highly conditioned shape, but you don't put a rookie out there for 57 snaps unless you trust he can handle 57 snaps. And he's a guy that, hard worker. He's going to come in great shape and prepare in the right way.
Right.
All right. Any other final thoughts here? Special teams, again, Quez Watkins, the adventure of the punt returns, just bad posture on that second one, trying to catch over his shoulder. Never going to have a good time doing that. Didn't judge the ball well. That was his big issue. What do you think about the new punter, Cameron Johnston? Even had a little sideline forearm shiver.
Yeah. It's good to be talking about somebody that can boot the football. Now, I'm more want to talk about what happened on the long snap on the missed extra point.
Yeah, that was a nice job by Johnson to even get that ball down and have an attempted kick there. But Kuntz, can't have that.
That threw all the timing off there. So
it's an operation, not a kick.
The other special teams note that I obviously have in here is your boy Plumlee from the up back position. You're down the field. You got to wade through trash. He beelined it too. He got downfield in a hurry and got in on a late punt covered special teams tackle. So good on him. Not oftentimes you're going to see a listed quarterback in on a special teams tackle.
Yeah, that's you want to know sickos committee. I am, and we are. I was losing my mind trying to. I saw someone make the tackle. I went, "Who is that guy? Doesn't look like." It's like, is that Coletto? It's too small to be Coletto. I was like, that's Plumlee. And I went back and where was Plumlee lined up at? He was the up back, the personal protector. So I think with Nate Meters going down, they lost one of their backup up backs. And Champlin was the first team guy in this game. Killebrew didn't need to take that role in those snaps. And for Plumlee to do it, hadn't done it in practice, go down there, make the tackle. I was just losing my mind. I was like, this is awesome. This quarterback out here returning kicks and making tackles. Just how fun is this? This is peak preseason.
All right. The more you can do, right?
The veteran playing some receiver as well. I think overall special teams was pretty sloppy. The coverage team was pretty poor. Allowing a couple of returns to net, I'm sure, was disgustingly bad. You had the high snap. You had penalties. Watts a block in the back. Fitzpatrick ran out of bounds on a punt. And he should know better than that at this point. So it was not a good day for Danny Spashunit. But it was, first time out. A lot of new guys, moving pieces. A bunch of guys who will not be doing this come September 8th against Atlanta, but there's a lot to clean up in the second game.
Yeah, look, when you combine, the poor overall special teams play with, the first half issues that this offense had, routine plays routinely,
And they were not made routinely. What do you think about the kickoffs and Pittsburgh getting a couple of returns? Plumlee
ran right into. Well, the first one ran smacks back into his own guy.
I was saying Rush ran into him. Rush got shoved right into the Plumlee, unfortunately.
Right.
But just overall, with the newness of the rule, everything, what kind of initial impressions getting to see that from a Pittsburgh perspective?
We knew it was going to be vanilla. They're just trying. I think they're still trying to learn it too, as are all the other 31 teams in the NFL. it's going to be hard to get a better gauge. I think the most interesting thing to happen in special teams over the weekend was what happened in that Kansas City game.
Which was
that ball landed at the 1 yard line,
safety.
And Mecole Hardman went into the end zone. They got to explain these rules to these guys.
And I know Football Zebras, the account, believes that was ruled incorrectly. I didn't get into weight into all the nuance about the ruling and everything.
I think his contention wasn't it that he was knelt down when he picked up the ball, and the ball was at the 1 when he picked it up. So it should have been ball at the 1 is what he thinks.
Right. He thinks it shouldn't have been a safety. I had missed all the details of it, but there was some contention there. But yeah, the bottom line is, I know Danny Smith talked about it. The ball, even if it goes in the end zone, it's no longer a dead ball automatically. That was the old rule. If the ball rolls in the end zone, it's dead. It's still a live football. So you have to proceed as such.
Boy, you'd hate to lose some points that way at the start of the season. That's a valuable lesson to learn.
Yeah, for sure. I think even the Football Zebras referenced that Titans Steelers week 1 opener a decade or so ago, where I think Tennessee had an issue and that created a safety for Pittsburgh in that game. So yeah, going to have to learn those things because there are different rules. There are the landing zone. If you don't kick the ball in the landing zone, the ball is out at the 40. There are different touchback rules. Where does the ball land in the end zone? Does it roll into the end zone? So there is a lot of nuance and details to be concerned with this year.
All right. I guess I'll leave you with this. Coming out of the game, the Steelers held out 13 players that did not see action in this game. A lot of them were obvious. We knew 7 of them heading into the game. Actually, we knew probably a few more than that with the 3 players on the list, and Lowry and Patterson, even though Patterson had just gotten activated right before the game, though. But here's your list: Russell Wilson, Patrick Queen, Chris Boswell, Roman Wilson, obviously with the ankle. Minka was held out. Cole Holcomb's on PUP. Alex Highsmith with the groin. Isaac Seumalo, probably a coach's decision. Patterson just coming off the list. TJ Watt wasn't going to play in this game. Lowry on the list. Fehoko, who's now on IR, was dealing with that shoulder injury. And Cam Hayward obviously wasn't going to play in this one per Mike Tomlin. So really, to be honest with you, that's a short list for first preseason game.
I think when you have so much turnover Pittsburgh has on the roster this year, and also just generally good health, it creates opportunities for those guys to get out there and play.
Right. So interesting to see how long the list is this week.
Can you be my research lackey for one more very nerdy question? What did Kyler McMichael have defense? Because I don't think he played a single snap defensively. What did he have on special teams?
7 snaps, no defensive snaps.
Okay. So one of those guys did not get to see snaps on his side of the ball. That was, I think, Trice and maybe Rush finishing out a corner, but a couple of snaps there on special teams for McMichael.
All
right, Dave. Anything else from this game? Again, sloppy, but it's good to get some groundwork laid down on these guys, get first watching, and then most important part of the preseason, how do you progress? The guys that did well, can they sustain and continue? The guys that struggled, can you correct mistakes and bounce back? This is a long arc. You watch preseason through, no decisions made today on your rosters. Who's your guys, who's not? You want to see continual progress. That's the most important part of this time of year.
I can tell you right now, I'll jump ahead right now and tell you what I'm looking for in the second preseason game out of this offense. Obviously, Russell Wilson on the field, right? Number 1. Obviously, whenever Justin Fields Justin Fields gets on the field, I like to see him play more snaps and get cleaner snaps out of this. The next point of emphasis, I think, damn it, give Zach Frazier to start in this one. Let's see what you got. You cut your teeth in this first preseason game. Let him start. What's the worst thing that can happen? He's a big boy. I want to see, hopefully Seumalo suits up in this one. I would surround Frazier with the guys that are the healthy starters that you think are obviously locked in there. That's what I want to see offensively.
Do you think Frazier will get the nod?
I obviously don't know. I'd be guessing, but it wouldn't shock me.
I'm gonna guess no.
Okay.
Guess no, but maybe. I mean, maybe they put him in with the ones, couple series in. I don't know, something like that, where he doesn't start, but he kind of works his way in, 3rd series or something like that. I could see that.
I mean, I obviously don't know which way it's going to go, but that's where if he has a good week of practice, I would seriously consider it.
Yeah, I want to see more and would like to see the opportunity, but we'll go from there. All right, Dave, let's transition now, getting away from the game. We'll talk about it a bit more, I'm sure, in Wednesday's show after we both fully digested the All-22 with some more thoughts and feelings and takeaways. Brandon Aiyuk talk has been pretty quiet the last couple of days. We did have a great discussion, really, you and Matthew Marksy. It was like midnight last night. You guys are just the and I say this in the best possible way, the nerds you guys are about contracts and financial aspects of it all. You guys were discussing the tax implications of if Aiyuk came to Pittsburgh, and would he want to come to Pittsburgh because obviously the taxes in California are so heavy that you're losing out on so much money, and even if you had the same amount of money in San Francisco and Pittsburgh contractually, tax-wise, you save more money and you keep more money in Pittsburgh. So I'm doing a poor job of framing this, I'm sure, but you give me your takeaway, your impression of what you and Matthew talked about, what Matthew talked about for an article on Sunday on the site.
Yeah, look, and we have great listeners of this show, right? And we get a lot of great emails in here. A lot of them don't even make it to the show because of time constraints. I got one from a Jeff Flowers. It was short and to the point, and he even included an attachment, an Excel attachment. And he said, look, I think, not that it's probably a huge thing here, but it's a rabbit hole worth going down. And we love rabbit holes, don't we, Alex?
We do.
And, we had a little bit of extra time on what night was that? Saturday night. It was late. And I was like, all right, got this nice email from Jeff Flowers. Let me see if I can read this real quick and find it real quick here for you to let you know kind of the direction he wants us to go.
And nothing gets our attention like an Excel spreadsheet. You send one of those bad boys in, we're taking a look at it for sure.
He says, big problem for Team Aiyuk to 49ers, taxes. He says, based on my simple sheet, Aiyuk will lose $2.42 million and some change if he signs with the 49ers for the same contract that the Steelers would give him. He says those California taxes are killers, but he says, but wait, there's more. This does not include the jock tax, looking at the 49ers versus the Steelers schedule. This cannot be good for BA. He says my $2.042 million does not include sales tax. Those kind of things are killer too in California. He says my $2.042 million includes 3% if he chooses to live in the city of Pittsburgh. He says the dude is getting killed by the Niners. Let's get the message out to him to come to the Burg and put $2 million more in his pocket. Anyway, he had a nice breakdown sort of what of the research that he did. I and Matthew Marksy went even further down the rabbit holes last night, looking at the state taxes and looking at the jock tax and all those kind of things, the playing on the road. And then we even went back and found 49ers Eric Armstead revealed in a kind of a TikTok video, he showed his weekly check and all like that. Look, is this a big piece of the puzzle in all of this? The fact of the matter is if I think the main takeaway here is, let's say the Steelers offered him $28 million per, all right? Essentially, he would, if you're looking at it from a tax perspective, I think it's kind of fair to take away that he would, that same kind of money would probably need to be around $30 million per if the 49ers were going to play apples to apples in the tax game, if you will. Jeff overall makes a valid point that I think was worth. And look, props to Matthew Marksy. He's been with Alex and I for as long as Alex has been here. You put Matthew on something and he'll suss it out. And I think Matthew did a good job on that. Now, is this the end all do all when it comes to the discussion and contracts and all like that? Because look, obviously all teams play on the road, but the 49ers do play half of their games at home, right? And there's also the signing bonus and all like that gets taxed, and broken down by week that way that you pay taxes on. I think this is a valuable piece that Aiyuk's side needs to consider. Now, look, there's other more important aspects of a contract. Guaranteed money is guaranteed money, man. I mean, if you get guarantees out the yin yang on one side versus the other, it's hard, as long as the APY is close to some of the other language in there, it's not that discernible. It's hard to turn down fully guaranteed money, right? But sure. I think if you're looking at this big picture, the tax situation is something that has to play a role in this, especially when you're talking about the state of California. Look, it's not cheap to live in the state of California either. I live in Las Vegas. We don't have a state income tax here. There are people coming in droves from California moving to Nevada, right? I mean, it's the housing market has, since we moved here, has obviously increased and all like that. Of course, Nevada back, the housing bubble really burst here bad, and they had to overcome that. But as far as just living here on a day by day basis and groceries and all like that, it's certainly it in California. I'll tell you that. So you do have the cost of living to contend with in California. You've obviously got the state income tax to consider. Props to Jeff Flowers for bringing this up. And once again, I don't want to make this out as a huge thing that needs to go into all this, but I'm willing to bet Aiyuk and his agent have long thought about this.
Sure. I mean, I'm sure it's well on their radar for the state they live in. And I'm sure he has other clients who have done deals and have had to consider that. We have seen some players just in general for agency, they go to a team, a place like Tennessee or in Florida, no state income tax. So those are factors. I just don't know how much it really is going to impact things, because Aiyuk already would want to come to Pittsburgh if he doesn't stay in San Francisco. So there's really no need to additionally entice him, because he wants to come to Pittsburgh primarily for Mike Tomlin. And it does sound like if the Niners will give him even, say, $28 million per year, even though that'd be less money earned in California as it would be in Pittsburgh, he still would like to stay in San Francisco if he gets fair market value. So it's worth noting it impact, and the numbers are stark. And so I'm glad to lay it out. I just don't know how much it really influences the odds of Aiyuk coming to Pittsburgh.
Right. I don't think, this isn't an aha moment by any stretch of imagination, but I think it is a piece of the puzzle that needs to be considered, especially if everything else is even across the board, APY guarantees, which, I mean, obviously teams will tweak this on either side. And look, if you can get 2 or 3 full years fully guaranteed for the 49ers versus 1 or 2 with the Steelers, you can live with the higher taxes for guaranteed money, right? And obviously, the offensive, situation over there, they're a winning organization right now on top of it. No, this is not a game changer topic whatsoever. But it was a fun break of Brandon Aiyuk. No news. Every news item is will he or won't he. Obviously, the latest is that he supposedly is reopened. Contract talks continue with the 49ers. I know Shanahan met the media after the 49ers game, says really nothing's changed. And I'm not going to talk about personal conversations I've had with Brandon. No, but I think this was a fun little rabbit hole to go down. And I'm glad we did, because I learned a little bit out of this, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's good to put the information out there and have some sort of actual information than just all the speculation that's come along with Aiyuk. Even though this is maybe not impactful, it is reality. It is actual about taxes in California versus Pittsburgh or Pennsylvania. So, it is something to think about, and players do think about that globally when it comes to signing contracts and deciding where they're going to go play next.
Look, you even had a player not too long ago that I found a link on. Who was it? Signed with the Seahawks over the 49ers not too long ago.
Oh, it was
Rayshawn
Jenkins.
Jenkins?
Yeah, safety.
he even hinted to the fact that he could have probably made a little bit more money when he signed with the Seahawks versus the 49ers, but did reference the tax situation in California. Now, how much of that do you want to believe? Whatever, but I mean, it seems like he volunteered that information. Now, is that just him trying to save face? Who knows? But I found that interesting in researching this.
Yeah, and I to reference Calvin Ridley, who signed in Tennessee, who has no state income tax. I'm just pulling up an article that Robert Kraft talked about. There was a tax issue there because of New England and Massachusetts having higher taxes than Tennessee. So these things are factors, especially in free agency. I think it'll be less so in a trade situation for Aiyuk, but one other piece of the puzzle to consider.
Right. So props to Jeff for forwarding that on.
Yeah, and listen, people love reading that article. They love this information. I know it might be some of the nuance of taxes and finances and numbers, but people, when you give them good information and quality stuff to learn about and teach and inform, people flock to it.
Look, it was our, without a doubt, it was easily our most read post on the site on Sunday.
For sure. All right, Dave, any other final thoughts here?
We forgot the disclaimer. Neither Alex or I are CPAs, and contact a financial advisor or a certified public accountant for your tax situation. Yep. Don't take our word for it.
We are not liable for any IRS audits or penalties or anything of the sort.
This is not Brian Kozora and Mark C. CPAs.
Although we should do that. Well, we should get started on that. I'll get my license. All right, Dave. Any other final thoughts here?
No.
Okay. It's a good way to end that. Any emails kind of running along here? Anything else quick to close out today's show you want to get to?
Let me see if I can find something. I don't think we have a lot of it here overall. John Carter writes in, "Hi, David Knox. How much of a lock is Kyle Allen to make the roster as the third string quarterback? Does Plumlee offer more as he can play special teams? Would love to know your thoughts." Here's the thing, though, about the third quarterback situation, John. That player is likely to be an emergency quarterback situation. So let's say you did keep Plumlee over Kyle Allen. He would be listed as the emergency third quarterback, and he would only be able to enter the game if the first two quarterbacks got injured. And obviously, he would be entering the game at the quarterback position if that were the case. So you can kind of, long story short, I mean, look, we haven't even seen Plumlee play quarterback. Will we see Plumlee play quarterback at all in the final two preseason games, Alex?
I'm not sure at this point with the receiver work he's getting. If he does, it'll be limited, reps. I was hoping he would play against Houston to close out one of those drives, but they wanted to go with the veteran and Allen to probably give a little better drive, a little cleaner drive.
And look, Cal, we saw this team unfortunately have to dip into their third quarterback, last year. And obviously I hope Kyle Allen never plays a snap. But if this team keeps three quarterbacks again, which I think there's a high probability they will, it's hard seeing that player not being Kyle Allen.
Yeah, it's going to be Allen. Plumlee's fun. It's a cool story, but he's practice squad all the way. Keep him around there to develop and wear different hats, run scout team type stuff. But you got enough special teams guys. You got a bunch of linebackers and DBs and tight ends. So Plumlee is not needed to do that.
All right, one last one from Larry Griffith here. Why is everyone playing this charade of Nate Herbig having NFL center experience? It's a combined total of less than 50 snaps with 0 coming since 2021. This is why he wasn't an option for Mason Cole despite his poor performance last year. We drafted the most experienced collegiate center in the second round. Why not start Zach Frazier now? Didn't we have this conversation about Cole and Herbig in that last round of emails of the last show and all like that? Look, I wrote about it all last offseason as well too, about how few snaps that Nate Herbig had. Could you present an argument midway later part of the last season that, man, Mason Cole, not playing the best, get Herbig in there? I suppose, but the inexperience and all like that, I mean, you probably would have found yourself in the same boat anyway. Personally, I think they're giving Nate Herbig every chance to lose the starting week 1 job.
Yeah, I mean, we can go litigate his background, and he's played a lot more guard than he has center. I imagine he was doing some center work last year in practice. Just keep playing this thing out. Frazier's getting a look. If Herbig still wins the job, it probably means he played really well the last couple of weeks of the summer, and so we'll keep watching and evaluating and go from there.
Larry, I'll tell you this: wouldn't hurt. Like I just said, wouldn't hurt my feelings to see Zach Frazier come out and start the second preseason game.
Yeah, I think Herbig will still get the nod, but if they did Frazier first team, I'm all for it.
All right. I think we got through what few emails we have in the box here. Alex?
All right, so we'll come back. We'll do, obviously, our Monday camp episode on Monday and then have our next regular show on Wednesday, which will be the final day of training camp.
All right. And I don't think we will have you go to training camp on Wednesday. No.
Monday and Wednesday, off Tuesday.
Okay, so we'll have to record that Tuesday night, right?
Yes, we will.
Okay. Well, there you go. All right. In the meantime, you can follow me on Twitter /X at Steelers Depot. Follow Alex at Alex_Kozora. Follow the show at Terrible Podcast. Email the show, theterriblepodcast@gmail.com. If you like what we do, want to donate to the cause, SteelersDepot.com, hit the donate button. Also, if you like an ad-free version of the site, SteelersDepot.com, hit the ad-free button, follow the directions that way. So, until the next time, as always, thanks for listening to the Terrible Podcast with Dave and Alex.